Jubilations hit Igboland today as the Supreme Court of Nigeria delivered a verdict that has sent shockwaves straight through the heart of Abuja, quashing Nnamdi Kanu's conviction and declaring the IPOB leader a free man. The Tinubu government did not see this coming. Nobody did. And right now, the entire country is standing still, trying to process what just happened. Streets across the southeast are alive. People are pouring out of their homes, voices are raised to the sky, and the kind of raw, uncontainable emotion that only comes from years of waiting is spilling into every corner of Igboland. From Enugu to Owerri, from Anambra to Abia, the reaction is the same: disbelief, then tears, then celebration. This is not just a legal ruling. For millions of people, this feels like the heavens finally answered. But to truly understand why this moment is hitting this hard, you have to go back to the beginning. Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, the man who became a symbol, a controversy, a cause, and a prisoner all at once, has been at the center of one of the most dramatic legal sagas in Nigeria's modern history. Arrested in 2015, granted bail, then disappeared from the country, only to be dramatically rearrested in 2021 under circumstances that themselves sparked international outrage. Since that rearrest, he sat in DSS custody, facing charge after charge, with the federal government throwing the full weight of its legal machinery at him. Then came late 2025, when a federal court sentenced him to life imprisonment, a verdict that stunned his supporters and emboldened his critics. It looked to many like the final chapter. But the Supreme Court just tore that chapter out entirely. In a ruling that legal analysts are already describing as one of the most consequential in recent Nigerian judicial history, the nation's highest court quashed Kanu's conviction, dismantled the legal framework the federal government had built around him, and walked him back to freedom. The judgment reportedly exposed fundamental flaws in the prosecution's case, procedural violations, questions around the legitimacy of his rendition back to Nigeria, and constitutional concerns that the lower courts had either ignored or glossed over. The Supreme Court, it appears, was not willing to do the same. The Tinubu administration is now in an extremely uncomfortable position. This is not a minor setback. This is the highest court in the land publicly unraveling a case that the federal government spent years constructing. The political fallout is already beginning. Opposition voices are speaking. Analysts are asking hard questions about prosecutorial conduct, the independence of the judiciary, and what this ruling signals about the limits of state power in Nigeria. The government has not issued a formal response at the time of this report, but the silence itself is loud. And then there is Kanu himself, a man who walked into detention facing life imprisonment and walked out, if reports are fully confirmed, by order of the Supreme Court. Whatever your position on him, whatever you think of IPOB or its methods, the legal reality is extraordinary. You cannot sit in a DSS facility for years, get sentenced to life, and then have the country's apex court reverse everything, without that becoming one of the defining moments of an entire era of Nigerian politics and jurisprudence. The reaction beyond Nigeria's borders is equally intense. Across West Africa, in the United Kingdom where Kanu holds citizenship, in the United States, Canada, and across the African diaspora, supporters are flooding social media with videos, prayers, and messages of relief. Human rights organizations that had long raised concerns about the conditions of his detention and the fairness of his trial are already responding. The international community was watching this case, and today's development is going to demand attention at the highest levels. What happens next is where things get even more interesting. Kanu's release, if it moves forward without government interference, would immediately reignite the conversation around Biafra, IPOB's future direction, and the broader question of how Nigeria handles its internal political tensions. Will he return to activism? Will the government attempt any further legal maneuvers? Will this ruling open the door for dialogue between the federal government and the Southeast in a way that years of confrontation never could? These are the questions that will dominate Nigerian political discourse for weeks and months to come. One thing, however, is already settled. Today, the Supreme Court reminded every government in this country, and perhaps beyond, that no matter how powerful the state, no matter how heavy the charge, the law has its own final word. And today, that word landed like thunder. Stay close. This story is moving fast, the details are still developing, and there is much more to come. When the next update breaks, you will get it here first, straight, clear, and without compromise. Because in a moment this big, the truth deserves to be told properly.